Sridhar Vembu represents a rare countercurrent in India's tech narrative. While most unicorns chase venture capital and global exits, he built Zoho, a billion-dollar SaaS empire on very patient capital, deep tech talent, and village soil. Operating from Tenkasi in Tamil Nadu, Vembu has fused earthy self-reliance with modern cloud software. His latest creation, Aratai, a homegrown messaging app, has sparked nationwide curiosity and made Zoho the poster boy of India's tech Atmanirbhar story. In this episode, my colleague Suraksha and I sit with Sridhar as he talks about the Zoho way of building resilient software, the philosophy behind decentralizing tech talent beyond the cities, the future of Aratai in India's super app race, and what it means to be the face of India's innovation in a world dominated by big tech. It's Tuesday. I'm Surabhi Agarwal, and this is the Corner Office Conversation. Thank you so much for sparing the time to talk to us.
Thank you.
Right. Do you want to sort of start by recalling a little bit about your early days, Mr. Vembu? The early days of Zoho, how the company started. What was the thought behind finding Zoho? Because, we all know about Zoho as it is right now, but very few would be familiar with how the company began. So do you want to talk us through that?
Really, it is my brother Kumar started this here. He returned from, we were both together in Qualcomm in San Diego. I'm talking about 95. And we talk about, hey, India does not have a brand to call its own. We Japanese brands, we see Korean brands, and we are seeing made in Taiwan appearing. But where is made in India, right? So that's when he decided to return. That was in November 95. That is really the genesis of this company. And along the way, actually, my co-founder, Tony Thomas, left his job in New Jersey and he started his own company then. Those came together in about 96. And I only joined in 97 beginning. So there is a gap of about a year and a half where these efforts were going on and first product got shipped. Then Tony asked me for help. Hey, can you help market this software? And I happened to be sitting in Silicon Valley at that time. I was doing consulting work from among other companies, division of Cisco at that time. So I left that and I joined Tony to help market the software. That is how it got started. And my first thing was 97 in May. I went to a trade show in Las Vegas. Tony had rented a booth. And my brother Shekhar had come from India to also appear in the booth. And I went from San Jose to Las Vegas. And I drove all the way. And that is how booth we had. And we already had some customers. Tony had some customers. In that show, actually, we found more customers. In that trade show, we found more customers. So I realized, I could be selling software. So I was originally a marketing and sales. Was not in technology and that type in this company.
Right. Do you also want to talk about the entire SaaS movement that, was started, or Zoho was one of the biggest players in the entire SaaS movement that happened out of India? I think a lot of companies also came out of Zoho, like Freshworks, and then became very big part of, like I said, the SaaS movement. Take us through that.
Yeah. SaaS itself in Zoho what became Zoho, the company got started in SaaS in 2004-05 timeframe. Very early days of SaaS. It was not yet common, but we had observed already that it's a good way to work, get work done. So, in fact, if you look at our first tagline, when we first announced Zoho, it was work.online. And we started investing. We knew it would take a while to produce profit. In fact, that division, the Zoho division, actually took about 7 years to even produce meaningful revenue. Until then, it was funded by our software as product, install product division, manage engine, and the previous telecom software, all of that was funding this. We view SaaS is the way things are heading. We were investing, but it was till about 2011 or 12 when was real meaningful revenue was clocked. And then it has steadily grown from there. That is also when a lot of the VCs picked up on the Zoho because started funding companies. That was about 2010, I believe. By then, we had already been building for about 5 years.
So since you mentioned revenue, if I could quickly jump in here, about 46% of Zoho's revenue now comes from North America. I mean, more than India. So if you could take us through how this came about, that'd be great.
Yeah, it is both US and Canada. In fact, this is down from maybe it was 70% about 12 years ago. So it's down. That actually the reason is the rest of the world, including India, grew massively in that time, much faster. Today, our fastest growing markets are actually India and Middle East neck to neck. Both are growing very fast. And then Latin America is also growing quite fast. So those three are some of our top growing markets now. And we are also seeing growth in the rest of Asia, outside of India. And outside of India and China, we are seeing some good growth. Again, it tracks the demographics. If you look at the countries where the population is relatively young, coming online, that's where we see the best growth. But at the same time, established economies also have large GDPs. So we're getting our share of the revenue. Relatively small share, but we're getting some share of the revenue. And that's why the mix looks like that.
Right. How much is India right now? Since we are on that topic, I would like to know how much is India's share and what is your long-term strategy?
About 10% and might be growing to about 12% of our revenue share.
Right. Let me also ask you, since you mentioned about how you started off in Silicon Valley and you were working with big companies there and you decided to move back to India. And also, I think you went not just to the metros, but also to smaller towns, in fact, villages, and you have your operations in places like Tenkasi. So what is the thought process behind that? Tell us a little bit about that.
First of all, I came back only in 2019. Couple of reasons. One, see, ours is very much driven by the talent. Demographically, if you look at rural India, that's where the talent is coming from. In fact, if you go to Bangalore, you go into any company, even a startup, you see where the talent, a lot of the engineers are coming from. They would not have been born in Bangalore. They would be from some small town, from Karnataka or Andhra, any of the states, could be Kerala. In fact, I was in Noida visiting a company recently. Most of the engineers were coming from, all the way from, I saw engineers from Bihar, I saw from UP, all over the place, but definitely not born in the Delhi, most of them.
True.
So this is the reality of our talent pool in India. And then it's natural to ask, why don't we go to the source of where the talent is, right? It's very rational. I'll give you a counter example to this. If you look at a US rural area, maybe you see it in Iowa or Kentucky or places like that,
Sure.
the population base is extremely small. For example, you go to rural East Texas, you have a population density of 1% or 2 per square mile.
That's true. Absolutely.
I don't know that you can create a tech company out of there unless you have a plan to somehow persuade a lot of people to move there. But this is not true in anywhere in rural India. It's absolutely not true. You drop a pin on the map in a random part of India, draw a 20, 30 kilometer radius, you're going to find about 3 to 5 lakh people easily. And that base gives us, some number of kids are born there. So there is a base. And with a suitable training and all of that, that could be, come into the technology industry. There's already a lot of people there, and we ought to be able to find, nurture, create the talent there. That's the plan.
But going to a place like Tenkasi, which has operational challenges, do you think that other companies can also emulate that model and make it work? Would you expand this model beyond Tenkasi, is my question to you.
Yes. In fact, we have already expanded that model beyond Tenkasi. And now we are actually repeating this experiment in nearby district of Agarwal. We are also repeating it in somewhat of a rural, a little further away from Madurai. Madurai is a big city, but the Madurai district still has a lot of rural.
Yeah.
We're repeating that. Even in the Coimbatore region, We are in a small place called Palladam, which is a small town, which is about maybe 40, 50 kilometers outside of Coimbatore. So we have that there. And Kumbakonam, which is a town, it's a bigger town. It's not the scale of the cities. References are not as well known, but that's where I'm from originally. Kumbakonam, we actually have an office that has about 200, 300 employees and growing. So Karaikuri, you may have heard, the Chettinad region of Tamil Nadu. In Karaikuri, we have an operation that has maybe about 40, 50 people. And then we have smaller dots on the map, like you'll see in a place called Pera Urani, which nobody would have heard of outside of Tamil Nadu. Most people would not have heard of it. We have a development center, maybe about 30 people. So, and then even smaller dots. I mean, my native village near Kumbakonam, it's a village called Kurichi. We have about 30, 40 people now doing this. So, how do we select? So, we have done this in not just these bigger towns, not just, the 3 lakh population, 5 lakh. We are going down to smaller villages now. The Tinkazi experiment has gone further, much further. It's only constrained by, of course, do we have the leadership bandwidth to manage the location? Is somebody going to be there and somebody who's rooted there, somebody who wants to commit there? One thing we don't accept is you can remotely manage this. If the leadership layer is not willing to be there, then we won't look at that.
So talking about the elephant in the room, Zoho has been in the news, in the spotlight for a while now. You've had union ministers endorse you. So what distinguishes Zoho's suite of offerings from rivals like, WhatsApp and Microsoft and everybody else?
Well, what distinguishes first is it's made in India. I draw a contrast between self-sufficiency versus self-reliance. That's important distinction. Self-reliance means we are able to trade on equal terms with the world, that we have an equal exchange of value. For example, if we sell only rice paddy or we sell only petroleum, we buy all the complicated stuff. That's not, even if the trade balances, which often it doesn't, it's not symmetrical trade. And the reason is that the technology could be weaponized against you. And a person who's buying rice can switch suppliers easily, but you are buying the iPhone, you cannot switch supplier easily. Very simple. So that means that the technology has to be, that's where the Atmanirbhar, that whole idea of self-reliance comes in. We have to build it here. It has to be subject to Indian law so that within India, the Indian laws can apply to that technology. And that's what distinguishes Zoho from an Indian perspective from other products. And secondarily, if you look at the international situation, you look at a third country like Mexico, and you look at other countries, they also face similar pressures. They also have technology weaponized against them. So they will evaluate, if we have to buy from somebody, who will weaponize the technology less against us, who is likely not to dictate terms to us. And that's an image India has developed over the years, right? It's one where Indians are respected, but we are not feared, nor do we dictate terms to anybody else. Our government is not doing it. Which is why globally technology sources are needed that are not just in control of one country.
So I think it was the IT secretary, Mr. Krishnan, who said that, it is not that, we're pushing products that are just made in India. We're pushing products that are best in class across the world. So how is Zoho addressing challenges like, end-to-end encryption and other challenges that it is seeing with Zoho people, etc., when users are comparing it to other OEMs and their offerings. So how is Zoho addressing these challenges?
Yeah. First of all, as I said, 90% of our business is earned outside India. Even within India, our revenue is predominantly private sector. We are earning our revenue in the wide open markets of the world. Our percentage of government revenue is actually small, quite small. So that's the first thing to understand. And the second point addresses itself. If we are not actually competitive globally, our products are not competitive, nobody has to buy them. Nobody is forced to buy them, right? Nobody will buy them. So we are earning our keep in the global markets every single day. And our market share has been growing. It's not just against Microsoft in India. It's actually outside too. We are winning major deals against Microsoft. The second is, you asked about end-to-end encryption. We actually have it. It's right now in testing In fact, this week it's being tested internally here, and we will have it soon, very soon. Like it may show up in the app suddenly one day, one of these days. We don't know when.
So, do you see this movement intensifying in the country? Because the way government of India is pushing, companies like Zoho or Map My India, who were always there, but sort of needed that push, not just to go. I mean, it's providing visibility not just in India, but also internationally to your companies. So, do you expect this movement to continue? And what is happening at the government's end is actually helping you?
Yes. So let's come back to this. Every nation today, whether it's USA, whether it's Japan, whether it's China, whether it's Korea, they do push their national champions today. That's the reality. And in fact, in India, there is this whole, we are probably the last country that will pay our lip service to WTO, World Trade Organization, which is now practically irrelevant in the last several years. The only country where it will be even talked about is in India. Okay. So we have to get out of that mindset somehow that all those institutions matter. What matters is national sovereignty. What matters is our self-reliance. What matters is our real ability to trade on equal terms with the world. And that's where we have to invest in domestic technology creation, technology adoption, all of this. At the same time, globally, we have to trade on equal terms. I'm all for trade, but trade on equal terms.
Absolutely. That's a great point to make. I just want to ask you this last question. I'm in the Valley and I've met a couple of people during the day. And one feedback that I've got from everybody is that, there are lots of Indian origin founders who are building their third, fourth startup in the Valley. But when you talk to them about the Indian ecosystem, they obviously have a lot of things to say. That how, a lot of things are broken. The research is not adequate. The VC ecosystem is not adequate. There are lots of other bottlenecks which stop people from sort of innovating at the same scale as they are able to do in the Silicon Valley. So that's my one part of the question. The second part of my question is that, even when this movement is going on, we have seen just a handful, or in fact, not even a handful, just a couple of companies who the government can really bank on, which is, Zoho and Map My India. Right. And there are actually no other companies that the government could pick out and really say, okay, these are our national champions, to quote you, and we are going to push you. How does India change this?
So on the first point, about 7-8 years ago, the Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Sri Chandrababu Naidu came to Silicon Valley. I was in the audience. I was invited and I also met him. And he made a very good speech. Wherever you are, you're prospering, you're doing well. I'm so happy for all of you. Never forget your motherland, because if your motherland is not doing well, you will not gain respect here. You will not get respect. He said this, okay? And 2025, isn't that true? So that's why it's important that we build it up. Regardless of, there will be always minor hurdles. There will be hurdles along the way. Entrepreneurs know how to face hurdles. You overcome them. That's the whole idea. And then the second point, why there are not many more companies, it is that we unfortunately were shipped a certain imported ideology, a philosophy. We assume that whatever worked in Silicon Valley would work naturally in India as well. You have to think different here when you are in India. And what is different? That you cannot assume that ready-made talent will be available in whatever area that you are working on. You have to build up the talent, right? That's all the whole idea of developing. And the second problem is you are importing the value systems of every 3-4 years, people can move around. And that works in Silicon Valley to some extent because the companies could get acquired and the talent pool goes to a Google or Apple or somebody, right? Well, there are not big acquiring companies in India for talent could accumulate like that. Yeah, not yet. Silicon Valley, remember, it's not only about startups. It's about the gravitational force of Apple and Google and Facebook, all of them are there, right? Where if without building up those companies, we cannot have all of the smaller companies, that ecosystem. And our assumption is that this whole universe of smaller companies by itself would produce it. It does not. That's a problem.
So if I may just pitch in,
Mr. Mani Vembu, the CEO of Zoho, told ET that if people believe in our promise of no ads and full privacy, engagement will follow naturally. He also said that advertising will never be part of Aratai and that Zoho will never sell user data to third parties. So, what exactly is Aratai's revenue model?
Aratai app will get a lot of integrations. For example, payment services. There's a lot of potential, and we are looking at first. We want to scale up the app, roll out the end-to-end encryption, all of this. First, the basics, and refine the user experience. And we are actually doing a lot of user group testing right now with non-tech people. People like my mother. How does she use the app? All of that testing we are doing. Only then we will take up all of these integrations. So revenue is not a current priority. We want to make sure the app is perfect, bulletproof, and lots of crores, tens of crores of users can use it. That's the goal right now.
Right. Also, sir, we've had desi apps like Koo, for example, who also got a lot of government push, and then unfortunately it couldn't deal with the challenges that come with user-generated content, and it had to shut shop. So what is the lesson that Indian entrepreneurs can learn from a chapter like Koo?
Yeah. If you are going to go for B2C, you better have some strong either foundation from a company like Zoho. We can afford to go B2C now, or you have lots of capital, one of the two. And you have anyway a long-term picture, because you cannot make money quickly from this. You have to have maybe a 10-year horizon. That's really the lesson.
This increased proximity with the government, if I may put it that way. Does Zoho plan to revive its semiconductor foray? I understand that you didn't find a technology partner and those plans were, laid down. But do you plan to revive those plans and, eventually make a semiconductor foray?
Right now, we're hyper focused on our current priorities. I don't think I can. We are working so hard right now. I think this is not the time to expand our focus right now.
Sridhar Vembu's story challenges every assumption about where innovation must come from. As India hunts for its next tech frontier, his model may well be the blueprint for hundreds of homegrown companies that India desperately needs. That's it for today. You were listening to the episode on Corner Office Conversation. It was produced by Anirban Chaudhary and Vinay Joshi. Sound designed by Amrit Reggie. Have a good week ahead.